What's up guys, I'm Newbie Dave and today we're planting some trees. Let's get started. So how's it going y'all? Hope you're having a great week. We are still back here in our outpost in the Badlands. I had a few more things I wanted to say about this before we moved on. First thing is, between episodes, I went and got some tropical fish from one of the warm ocean biomes, brought them back, put them in the pond. Just adds a little bit more life to this place. So transporting fish is pretty easy. You just use a bucket to scoop up the fish, move it somewhere else, and then dump it out again, and you've moved a fish from the ocean to wherever you want to put it. The other thing I did in between episodes was I put down some green wool in with the grass. When I was doing the decorating over the weekend, I forgot to mention it, but I also mixed in some green concrete powder. And the whole point was just to add some variety to the green so it's not the same color green grass everywhere. The green wool and the light green concrete both look like different grass textures. And so, I was trying to go for the same like Minecraft creeper green pattern like I use in my logo. That was the look I was going for with this ground. And so I threw in a couple more blocks that had green shades to try to accomplish that effect. Now I know that when I first built this outpost, some people weren't very happy with the build. I wasn't very happy with the build, and I think we did a good job coming back and kind of saving this thing and making it look nice. But I want to say that it's okay to make mistakes in Minecraft. Like, don't feel like every single build that you do has to be perfect the first time that you work on it. This is a game of trial and error. Mess around, make mistakes, learn from them, and improve on them. At the end of the day, this is a game, and if you're having fun, then you're playing it correctly. So don't worry about, making all of your builds look exactly right and just blow your mind the first time you build them. It's okay to make mistakes. That's part of the game, and that's what makes it so much fun. So on to today's build. So I've mentioned a couple times that I've got a big new project that I've been working on, and I've been spending some time in between episodes kind of preparing for that and collecting resources. I've gotten a lot of stone. I've got tons of wool from my auto farm over there that I can use to start outlining some new builds and decorating. One of the things that I'm starting to run a little bit low on is wood. Now, I'm not too worried about like dark oak and spruce and jungle wood because you can plant these really tall 2-block wide trees and you can just get tons and tons of wood from these things. And so if I need more of those, I can just, I could harvest all of these spruce trees that I have right now and get like several full stacks of spruce wood and then just plant them back again. It's not a big deal. It's more the oak and the birch that I'm running low on. And it might seem kind of odd because like birch and oak trees, they're everywhere. And you look to the left and there's an oak tree. You look to the right, there's a birch tree. They're all over the place. So how could I be running low on oak and birch wood when they're everywhere? And the reason is these are small trees. They're very small. From a birch tree, you usually only get 4 or 5 logs from a single tree. The oak trees are about the same. If you get one of the giant oak trees, like they've got wood like really high up that you can't reach all of it. And so either it takes a long time to get all of the wood from the tree, or you end up just leaving it and then you have floating trees, which are just a disgrace. And so it's just kind of tedious to get birch and oak wood. And so that's really the motivation behind today's build, is I want an easy, convenient way to get as much oak and birch wood as I want without having to go like tear down half a forest. So today we are going to be building a tree farm. Now this particular farm design is going to take up a lot of space, so we need a big open area. I like where I've got my dark oak and spruce and jungle and acacia trees right now, so like I don't want to tear these up, but I do want this to be kind of close to all of these other trees. Like this is my agriculture, my tree, I guess, district, if you will. And so I want it to be over here. So what I'm actually thinking is kind of clearing out this spot right over here, leveling out the ground. I'll cover up this little cave entrance, cut down some of these trees, which is going to take a while because, look at this beast right here. Yeah, there's a lot of wood in there. I'm probably going to get all the wood I need just clearing this out, but that's okay. This is going to be a very useful farm in the future. And the reason that this build takes up so much space is because of how oak trees grow. So check this out. If I plant an oak tree and bone meal it, you know, that took 3 bone meal to get this oak tree, which I'm now going to have to clear. That wasn't very smart. Anyways, you can actually plant oak trees right next to each other, and this will grow, but it's going to take so much bone meal. So I've got bone meal coming out my ears so I can kind of waste a stack demonstrating this, but watch how much bone meal this takes. And I just now realized that because this is a giant oak tree, there's actually wood right above this thing, so it's never going to grow. Whoops. Newbie Dave. But my point is, doing it that way, it will eventually grow, assuming that there's nothing directly above it, except, you know, leaves. It can grow through leaves. But it's going to take a ton of bone meal. Whereas if you space these things out a little bit, it takes a lot less bone meal. So you kind of had 2 options. You can either compact it and get lots and lots of trees really close to each other using a lot of bone meal, or you can spread them out and it'll grow faster, it'll use less bone meal, and it's a little bit easier to work with in my opinion. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So let me start by kind of clearing this area out where I'm going to be doing this build. Alright, so that took some time, but we got this whole area cleared out, leveled out. I covered up the little cave that was down here, just covered the whole thing with dirt, dug up some of the stone so that I could just have dirt everywhere, even though I am actually going to come back here in just a minute and replace all this dirt with something else. But now we have a nice big flat area to work with. And this actually probably won't be big enough. Like, I think I might actually have to extend the build out this way a little bit, but that's fine. I would rather have it kind of hang off the edge here and maybe do some support columns down to the river rather than filling this whole edge in with dirt. So that's why I left this all uncovered over here, even though we're probably going to end up building over there. So like I was saying before, you can plant saplings side by side, and as long as one of them's not a giant oak tree, you can eventually get both of these to grow. But it's very slow and it takes a whole lot of bone meal. The farther you spread these things apart, the quicker they will grow. And what I have determined is my magic number, the number that I'm happy with, is spread out 4 blocks. So I've got one right there, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then same thing in each direction, we can go 4 that way and 4 that way. So this is as close as I want to plant these trees, and each of these will grow relatively quickly with a little bit of bone meal. If you spread them out even further, they'll probably grow a little bit more quickly, but it's just going to take up even more area. So yeah, 4 blocks is kind of the sweet spot for me. If you want to build them closer together, if you want to put them side by side, that's entirely up to you. But for this build, we're going to go 4 blocks. Now, given the space that we've got to work with here, I'm going to see, let me see. I want the left edge to kind of be about right here. I'll put it right here. And when I say the left edge, like this is going to be the edge of the farm, which means that I actually need to come in 2, and that will be the first, that's going to be where I plant the first sapling. Right now I'm just going to mark it with wood, and eventually I'm going to come back and put some coarse dirt down under that. But because I'm going to be digging this whole thing out down 1 layer more, I'm going to start with just marking these spots with wood. So this is going to be the, I don't know which direction is this, that's east. Okay, yeah, this is going to be the northeast corner, the northeast sapling on this farm. So let me see if this is going to work. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, I might actually need to go over further with it because that's going to be, yeah, so we're only able to get 3 in right there. So I actually need to go further over this way. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. I was hoping to avoid that because I wanted to have a nice little trail that leads maybe from the Mending Villager tree this way to get over to this area. But just like I said, this is going to be a huge build, and I don't want to stick out any further over the river than this. So yeah, we'll figure out another way to get over here. So that's going to be 1 row of trees in that direction. Now going this way, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 4. And I think this is as far as I want to go this way, because now we're starting to get into the dark oak. So yeah, I think this is a good size. So let me go ahead and fill this whole thing in, marking all the spaces where I'm going to be planting trees. And then we can come start actually digging this thing out some more. Alright, so those are all the spaces where we're going to be planting trees. I've got a 6x4 area blocked out, and each little stump represents what's ultimately going to be a tree growing location. So this is the size of the structure we're going to build, and it's actually going to go out a little bit further than this because I want a little kind of 1 block circumference around each of these to kind of give the trees room to grow, and then have an outer wall that goes even further beyond that. So really kind of right there is going to be the east edge of this thing, and right there will be the north edge. So yeah, like I said, this is going to be a very big structure for what we're trying to do here. Now trees need to grow in dirt, and so we can't just leave the stumps here. And because this whole area is currently grass, like if we just put grass down, we'll forget where the trees need to go. And so I plan on using coarse dirt to mark all the tree locations, because coarse dirt will never turn back into grass. But even then, you can kind of lose track of where things need to grow if there's other dirt around that or something. And really this just is, I don't know, it doesn't look very good having this whole area grass. And so I want to do something special for the floor here. And what I'm going to try, I have not tested this, so I don't know how it's going to work out. I'm going to try using warp stem and warped wart blocks. Boy, that's a mouthful. Warped wart blocks for the actual floor. So let me dig this whole thing out, and then maybe I can better illustrate it, because I don't know if I can describe what I'm trying to do very well here. All right, so I've got a little area dug out to kind of start. So let me try to illustrate what I'm going for here. Around each of these stumps, I'm going to do the warped wart blocks, and these come from the warped forest biome in the Nether. Oddly enough, you don't cut these things with an axe. They're technically fungus, and the tool of choice is a hoe, which I don't have on me. So you can break them with anything; they just break faster with the hoe. So yeah, around each of these stumps, we're going to place the warped wart block like this, and then in between each of these things is where I'm going to place the warped stem. I'm going to do it sideways like this, and then let's see. And then I think what I want to do is come back and strip it with the axe. And that way, it's like if I just filled the whole thing in with the warped wart block, it would just be a big round of the same stuff. And so this creates little pathways in between the trees, but it all kind of blends together. So that's what I want to do for the floor. Oh, look at that. That's really cool. Just that one little corner has convinced me that I think this is going to work. So let me clear out the rest of this and fill in the whole thing with these warp stems and warped wart blocks, and we'll see how it turns out. Alright, so I got the whole ground put in, and that looks awesome. I love this. I love the... yeah. I wanted sort of an organic feeling ground to this because, I mean, it's a tree farm, and so I didn't want to use stone or glass or something like that. But I didn't want to fill the whole thing with wood, because we're going to be coming through and cutting down a lot of trees. And if you cut through this and there's wood right behind it, you're going to end up cutting up the floor. Now we could still do that with the pieces in the middle, but because they're spread out by the warped wart blocks like that, it should be much less likely that we'll actually cut into the wood part, even though it's not technically wood. Whatever. Alright, so this is looking really cool. So now that we've got the whole area filled in with the ground cover, we can come back and dig up all these little placeholders and put down the coarse dirt. By the way, this thing required a lot more of the warped wart blocks than I had originally expected. And so each one of these is surrounded by 8 blocks. There's 24, so that's 192 blocks, which is going to be, I think, 3 full stacks. And I only had 2.5 stacks to begin with, so I actually had to go back to the Nether and get some more of this stuff to finish this off between cuts. So yeah, you want to plan ahead, make sure you've got enough resources before you start. Otherwise, you may kind of look like a fool. Wait, I think there's a parable about that somewhere. Alright, so technically this could be called done. We could just come in at this point, plant all of our trees, bone meal them, let them grow, cut them down. But there's two problems with it. One, it doesn't look finished. Like I want to build some kind of structure around it. And two, if we do that, we are going to get some giant oak trees, which we don't want, because for the sake of efficiency, it takes a lot longer to cut down a giant oak tree than it does a regular oak tree. So we want to force it to grow the regular oak trees. And so we need to do some more with this. Now I'm going to take a quick break right here because I've actually been working on this build for a couple of hours tonight. Believe it or not, most of that time was spent in the Nether collecting resources, and it's getting late and I'm getting exhausted and I don't want to run out of steam. So I'm going to pick this up tomorrow and I will see you guys after the wipe. And we're back. Now one last thing I forgot to do is I need to put down some lighting in here because this is a big area and we don't want spawns in here, and I'm really kind of on this shroom-like kick. Like I'm really digging this stuff, and since we've already kind of laid down some ground cover made out of different fungus type stuff, I think that this is very appropriate. So at some of these intersections, not all of them, I'm going to put down some shroom lights, and this should provide enough lighting to block spawns for this whole area that we're setting up here. Alright, so I did 3 on sort of this row and 3 on that row, and then I'm going to come in the middle here and we'll just kind of offset these. We'll do 2 on the middle sections, so it looks something like that, and that should be enough lighting to keep this whole little platform right now, soon to be building, lit up, and no spawn should be able to spawn in here. So it seems like a whole lot of work for a ground, for a floor, but I think it's going to be worth it. This thing looks really cool. I really like the warped fungus and the shroom lights, and then once we get the trees in there and the walls, this thing's going to look really nice. So let's talk about the walls. For the walls, I want to use some nether brick blocks. You know, I was so tempted to build this thing out of just regular brick blocks like that. I love the brick blocks, but I've got it on my phantom trap over there. I've got the bricks on my railway. I've been using bricks everywhere. I wanted to go with something different, and I really like the netherrack bricks. And I'm also going to mix it up a little bit. If I head back to my potion machine, if you remember when I built this thing, I put a secret little nether wart farm on top here. And every now and then between episodes, I'll just come back and harvest all this stuff, collect all the nether wart, replant the nether wart, and then I just stick the rest of it into the potion vending machine, since pretty much all the potions I make start with nether wart. But I can also combine this with the netherrack bricks to make red netherrack bricks. And if you remember in the episode where I built the little workroom in my nether hub, that was the first time I ever used the red netherrack bricks, and I was blown away by how awesome those things look. And so I want to incorporate those into this build as well. And I just ran off without the nether wart. So here's what I'm thinking for the outside of this thing. I'm going to grab some netherrack bricks, and I'm going to turn some of these into red nether bricks. Oh no, you do these with just regular bricks, not the brick blocks. So fortunately, I think I've got some nether bricks back in the nether hub. Hopefully I don't have to cook up some more. Let me go check. 26. That's not going to cut it. I'm going to have to cook up some more nether bricks. So give me just a sec, guys. Fortunately, you get to just skip over this with the wipe. I've got to actually sit here and make this stuff. Okay, back with the correct resources. Now we can make some red nether bricks. I'm just going to go ahead and craft up all of these for now. It took 128 nether wart to make this stack. So like I said before, this stuff is expensive, but I think it's going to be worth it. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to use my stone cutter to make some walls. And I'm probably going to need more than this. I'll start with this. I'm also going to take some glass and we'll turn this into some glass panes. And kind of what I want to do is use nether brick blocks and some red nether brick walls and glass panes to build the wall of this thing. So what I'm going to do, I'll start with this corner right here. I'm going to put down just a regular block right there and a regular block right there. We'll connect these with red nether brick walls. Oh, that stuff looks amazing. I'm also going to need some just nether brick walls. Sorry if I'm talking very slowly. I'm trying not to get all twisted up saying of this stuff. All the nether brick and nether rack and warped wart, and it's a big tongue twister to me. Okay, on top of this, well, I'm gonna have to use my scaffolding for this because you can't just nerd pull up with walls because it's ever so slightly more than one block. So I'm going to go up, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's right. So far this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks tall. And I think that's good. On top of that, we'll put another one. So that's going to make it 6. This will be 7. And just like that. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So it creates kind of an arch like that. And we'll fill the inside of this in with glass panes. So there we go, glass panes all the way up. On top of this, I will put, just for now, a netherrack slab like that. And we'll eventually kind of carry this over a little bit more and we'll do something with the roof. But first I want to do the entire outside. So that is not quite what I was after. I think I want to replace some of these with more of the red nether brick wall. So let me see. Yeah, so something like that. I think that looks really cool. So you do get kind of the arch effect up top, but you got this big window in the middle, and then just the different colors of nether brick and red nether brick and the different like levels because of the walls and the solid blocks. I think that looks really cool. So I'm going to do another one here. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'll go up with the arch, with a wall. I'll make a little arch, and we'll see how this looks. Yeah, so I think this is going to work. So I'm just going to keep doing this all the way around. I am going to, let me see, I'll skip, well, this is an even number. I'll skip one on this side as kind of the entrance to this thing. I'll figure out where. Let me see, I got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's going to be kind of tough because it's an even number. So I'll figure out some sort of entrance on this side. My original plan was to put the entrances on like one on this side and one on that side, but with how long this thing ended up being, it doesn't really make sense for there to be an entrance here and you come out like into a column. So I think the entrance is going to have to be over here. So I'll do something for the entrance, but for now I'm just going to go all the way around with this type of wall, and then we can turn our attention to the ceiling. And there we go. That took a lot of resources. I keep underestimating how big this build is. It takes up so much space and as a result so many resources. So I had to go make some more glass, get some more red nether rack walls, whatever those things are called. But we did it. I decided to leave the entrance open, like a really big entrance like this, because if I just did this section or that section, it would have been off-centered and that would have just driven me nuts. So I think what I want to do here is try to turn this into some kind of arch by, you know, I'll do some stairs like this, and then I will get up on top and see if I can't make like some kind of nice arching shape out of bricks. So maybe something kind of like that. Yeah, I think that'll work. I think that's good. I didn't want to go too high with it because the rest of this, like that's pretty much about as high as it's going to get. Like it might go up another half slab higher than that in the middle, but it's not going to be like this domed roof on top of this. So I didn't want the arch here to go up too high. I think that'll work. I think that's good. Okay, so now let's talk about the top of this thing. So in order to get these oak trees to grow as small oak trees and to never grow as a large oak tree, we need to put something above them that limits the height. It's kind of the opposite of what we did to force the giant oak trees to grow for the treehouse and for the rope bridge, where we put something around the base to make it grow big. Now we want to put something above it to make it grow small. And the way we're going to do that is we want to go up 7 blocks from where the sapling is going to be planted. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm just going to put kind of a placeholder down right here. So I'll put that down. And so that's actually 8 blocks. So on the 8th block is where we want to kind of block this thing. Everything below that is going to be clear like that. And so by having something at the 8th block above it, the oak tree cannot grow any bigger than that. And that is like the magic number to make sure it always grows as a small oak tree. If you put it 9 or 10, you could end up getting a giant oak tree, but right there at 8, it will always be a small oak tree. So that's why we built the walls as high as we did, is this is going to be kind of where the ceiling is going to be all the way across this thing. Now, let's talk about the ceiling. I want this whole area to have this sort of greenhouse open feel to it. That's why I did so many glass windows like this. And I want to carry that same pattern across the top. So everywhere that I put a slab on the top of each of these little window sections is going to go across and create like this crisscross pattern of netherrack bricks across the top. And then the rest of it's just going to be filled in with glass. So it's going to be a giant glass ceiling, glass roof with sort of a crisscross pattern of netherrack bricks to sort of hold it up. So let's see if I can kind of pull this off. I think what I'm going to do, I want to do a stair facing, oh yeah, it needs to face this way. There we go. Okay, I got it. So we're going to do a stair facing that way, and then right here we will do another brick like that. And so we'll do stairs on this side, and then slab in between, and I will put a temporary block there so I can put a block here, because this also needs to be a stair like that, and stair there, and stair, whoops, there. And then the rest of this will just fill in with glass like this. And this looks like it's going to be mostly nether brick on this side, because this is kind of the short end. Like the trees right here are right up against the wall. There's a lot more space in between each of these rows. And so most of this should end up being glass, and only a little bit will be the crisscrossed netherrack pattern. So let me do a small section of this, and then we'll see how it's looking before I kind of commit to doing the whole roof this way. Alright, so this is how it's looking so far. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. So it's going to be kind of a flat roof on the inside, which is good, and it's mostly going to end up being glass like this. There's a little bit of variety in height on the top that kind of shines through, and so that just it adds some offset, some variety to the height, so it doesn't look like it's completely flat. I think that looks really cool. I think it's going to be really nice when this whole thing gets filled in. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this roof, and then we can finally come inside and plant the trees. All right, we finally finished this structure, and I love this thing. I think it looks beautiful. I think it's a great design. I love the openness of it. You know, as you're standing inside of here, you still get to see like everything around you and above you. I think I really accomplished that that sort of arboretum greenhouse feel that I was going for. So now that this thing is completely enclosed, and it should prevent our trees from growing into giant oak trees, we can finally come back and start planting these things. And because the only dirt in here is where we want to plant our trees, I can just hold down the plant button and just run around. And I don't have to worry about counting spaces or misclicking or anything like that. You know, easy to plant 24 oak trees very quickly. And now we can just come through and start bone mealing these things. And it might take more than one stack of bone meal to get all these to grow. It's definitely looking that way. Yeah, but it shouldn't take nearly as much as if we had planted them all side by side. And there we have it, our finished tree farm or arboretum or orchard or whatever it is you want to call it. So the trees on the outside here, I actually had a real hard time getting these to grow. This one I couldn't actually get it to grow at all. I think I built the walls a little bit too close. Like the trees can grow through other leaves, and so that's why the ones in the middle, these only took maybe 5 to 10 bone meal each to get the middle ones to grow. But the ones on the outside, really struggled with those. I'm not gonna lie, I went through maybe 20 or 25 full stacks of bone meal on this whole thing, and most of it was on the outside. So it's a little disappointing. Like I said at the beginning of the episode though, this game is about trial and error, and I learned today that maybe I need to build my walls a little bit further away from the trees, but I think it's still a beautiful farm. Still plan on using it to get lots of wood, and I think it just looks great. I'm probably going to leave the trees here for a while and just admire it. And that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Oh, look at that. You can actually kind of see the corner of it from here. That's kind of cool. So I had a lot of fun working on this. I think it was a fun build. I like the way it looks, and I think it's going to come in handy to build lots of trees in the future. So thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button because it really helps me out. And if you're enjoying the series, while you're down there, feel free to subscribe so you'll get notified of future episodes as they come out. Thanks y'all, and have a great day.